All right, guys, we're back. A RACE22 podcast for not the second day in a row, even though we planned it that way. A little power outage here in the rolling hills of Copper Hill, Virginia. Got us down yesterday, but we're back up today and running, and got Roger Johnson from Performance Center on the line with me. Roger, did you enjoy your day off yesterday?
I did. I caught up on all the things my wife had for me to do.
Yeah, the honey-do list is probably a long one.
Man, the house looks tip-top shape right now. I'm definitely. I've been going in a little bit every morning just to make sure that everything is still there, and we haven't had anything crazy happen in the night, and trying to take care of people remotely if we can with whatever they need as far as parts or maybe something shipped. But other than that, yeah, just chipping at the honeydew list.
Gotcha. Well, I don't do honeydew lists. If anybody knows me, they understand that. My wife has me pampered and taken care of very well, so I don't have to do any of those. So
I've
she's
seen this in
handyman
action.
slash
I've seen it in action.
house, cleans up the house and everything. So I don't have to do any of that stuff.
Awesome. That's awesome. You're lucky. You're lucky.
I got it made, man. Got it made
You
for
do.
sure.
You do. Good for you.
For sure. Now, if I could just figure out how to make some money during this period of time, it'd be it'd be a really good.
You have more
good
money
deal.
than anybody I know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been thinking about starting to pull it out of the mattress, but I don't know if that's a good idea yet or not. So
I think it's still early for that. Still early for that.
We were talking before we started recording here. This whole coronavirus pandemic thing has the world basically shut down. We talked about it a little bit the other day, and we talked about it before we went on the air here about how things are changing rapidly with this deal. They seem to be heading toward the predicted peaks, maybe even a little sooner in some of the states and some of the areas for some of the things going on. We'll talk about the peaks a little bit there. Some information I've been watching about Virginia specifically because I'm trying to pay attention to when I'll be able to have a race at Franklin County and really in general when I'll be able to go to a race anywhere. I mean, man, it's a tough time. I mean,
It is a tough time. I watched a dirt race for iRacing last night. I was so bored, right? I haven't watched a dirt race in a long, long time. So I agree. It's boring. We need some. We need to be back at the racetrack making some laps. And
yeah, funny enough, I went and watched all that iRacing garbage last night. Oh, I mean to say garbage.
Wow.
No, it's not garbage. It really, I mean, listen, it's entertaining. I have a whole lot of strong feelings about what iRacing's rise in prominence during this period of time could mean for short track racing long term. I'm not going to get into that today, but it is entertaining. I mean, and at the end of the day, that's what this business is. It's an entertainment business, and if they can entertain you on there, I mean, that's a good thing for this period of time. I mean, those dirt races have been nothing short of exciting. I did think that I went back last night. I use YouTube TV, and it automatically records all kinds of stuff on there. I got all the NASCAR, every level of NASCAR that comes on TV. I got them set to record, so all the things record on there. So the iRacing from Myrtle Beach and Lucas Oil and Rockingham,
it was all on there, yeah.
All of that recorded. So I went back and watched some of it last night. And I'll tell you, the Myrtle Beach thing, while it was cool as hell to see, the 6-car deal was ignorant, didn't make any sense, made for a terrible race, a terrible product. The thing that made up for that, though, was that they they let you hear everything that was going on between the drivers. So every one of those drivers, they're just running it off at the mouth. I mean, Matt DiBenedetto, he's hilarious anyways, and Dale Jr.'s always giving people hell. So it was really good. Ryan Preece was entertaining. So that part of it was entertaining, but the racing part of it itself really lacked because they had so few cars on the track, and I think they should have rethought that idea a little bit there. But whatever, that's their deal, not mine. But anyways, I derailed us going down the iRacing venture there, but
it's easy to do. It's easy to do.
It is. I mean, there's nothing else going on, so I mean, what the hell else are we going to talk about? But
I talked to a dirt chassis builder today, and he told me that he thought that although his business would suffer on the short term, that he thought small downturns in the economy ends up being good for dirt racing fans, because they come to the racetrack more. So I found that as a piece of good news.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely an optimistic way to look at it. I mean, I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people about a lot of different things that involve, what we're going to see when this is over with. What this means for short track racing, what this means for asphalt racing, what this means for dirt racing, what this means for NASCAR, what this means for the NFL, what this means for the Major League Baseball, whatever. I've had a lot of conversations about a lot of different things. None of us are experts, so we don't know anything, anyways. But we all have differing opinions, and everybody seems, for the most part, to be overly optimistic of how we're going to come out of this.
Yes. I agree.
And I think a lot of it. I mean, I'm gonna reference something that probably will piss some people off, and I really don't care. But I remember back to when Obama was in office, okay, which was not the greatest time in the world, but one thing that I can tell you 100% for sure that is true, and a guy told me this during the time that Obama was president. He said, "Man, people have money." He said they're just scared to death to spend it. And the day that, Trump was elected, it changed. I mean, that from that day forward, it changed. And I think that goes into this, people are optimistic, so that means things are going to be better than they would be if everybody was negative about the situation. So I think that it's a good thing that everybody's optimistic about it, because that means that they'll come out swinging. So, and I hope that's what happens. I mean, I know that's what, I know that's what I'm going to do, because I don't really have another choice. I buried myself during the winter, so I'm going to have to dig myself out once we get to go racing. So,
I think everybody, that's the one thing that I think we're all in together, right? I think everybody's going to have to dig. You don't shut it all down for as long as we've shut it down, and everybody's going to have to dig. You know what I mean? In the racing community, at least, I believe.
I mean, that's probably in general. I mean, that's probably in general. Though I did talk with a guy yesterday. I've actually talked to two different people that are in the tire business, not the racing tire business, but just streetcar tire business, and both of them have told me that the last month of their business has been some of the best they've ever had. Oddly enough.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are other business. I mean, we know Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot and those guys, they're knocking it out of the park right now. Even with these executive orders to, keep them from having, only 20% capacity in stores, it don't make any difference. People stand in line. They want to be out of their house. They want to be somewhere. They want to do something, whatever. So they're out there. But for sure. But going back to the peak thing, the one thing that I found that was the most interesting thing about the peaks of when we expect the peak deaths, and for the flattening the curve and all that. Virginia originally was set to peak on May 20th, which would have put us having a chance of getting back to racing, in my opinion, July 4th. You know what I mean? That would have been like, pretty close to the first time we would have been able to get back racing, especially, here. It's a different date and different circumstances in every state. They don't vary by a whole lot. They did. Now they've kind of closed in. They're all kind of in the same,
everybody's
area.
joining together. Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's because everybody's, yes, people are going out and they're going to Walmart and they're going to Home Depot and they're going to get tires and they're going to do these things, but they are practicing some sort of social distancing. They aren't going in shaking hands and, smacking each other on the ass or whatever people normally do. They I mean, I'm just saying, things are totally different than they were before. I mean, if I go to Walmart, I avoid people like the plague. But I did before, so it ain't really a whole lot of different for me.
Right.
But the peak date was May 20th in Virginia. Now it's April 22nd. So almost an entire month there that it's been shortened up by. And most of the states that were in May, especially toward late May, have all reverted back to the end of April or the first couple of days of May, which is huge positive for us, and the opportunity to go back racing. I mean, we were talking about it, and I think one of the things that I said you were kind of surprised by, but okay, so our peak is, let's say our peak is April 22nd. I'm just going to take Virginia. I think y'all's is April 17th in North Carolina,
yep.
And there are different dates everywhere, but they're within 7 to 10 days of one another. So okay, we hit those peaks. So when does the country open back up? Well, if you listen to Trump, it's opening back up tomorrow, but that's not going to happen. Okay, he's overly optimistic, and he likes to talk, and he likes to make you feel good, and that's cool. The governors, they like to do the opposite. They might like to make you feel bad. Governor Northam here, he's got the country reopening on June 10th. Both of them are wrong. Just my opinion. But I think I think that the social distancing thing, it's set to go through April 30th on a national level. It's going to get extended to probably they're going to want you to social distance for the rest of your life. Which is cool. That means everybody acts like I do. And listen, I thought about something yesterday too. Funny enough, Mike Looney is the king of social distancing. He lives off in the mountains. It take you 2.5 years to get to where he's at, and he goes nowhere but the racetrack. So the only thing that changed in his life was going to a racetrack. Legitimately. Yeah. Which I tried to call him yesterday. I didn't get an answer, but that's because they haven't piped cell phone service into Craig County yet. But
yeah, you got to be careful. You don't have that much up there where you live either. Remember, the internet's pretty rough up there.
Well, the internet is, but we do have cell phone service. Okay, and we got that 10 years ago. So they got it 30 years ago everywhere else. We got it 10 years ago here. But really though, his life has not changed much at all. While everybody else's kind of has a little bit, outside of the racetrack, his has not changed at all. But I was going to talk to him about it yesterday. I was going to try to, had my power not went out, and I was going to try to sit down and record a little something with him. I know people like hearing from him anyways. He's always got some incredible one-liners.
Dude, he's a great dude.
Oh,
he's a great dude.
He's incredibly entertaining. Even if he did one time throw a dog out of a window, first floor window. But that's another story for another day. It was hilarious when it happened. I was there. The dog survived, by the way. It lived. It was fine. It didn't break any bones. Didn't hurt it any. Whatever. We'll tell that story with Mike one day.
When do you think we go back racing? When do you think when's the Langley Austin timeline, and when he thinks we're going to go back racing?
Well, obviously I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic in saying that Memorial Day weekend or somewhere within 2 weeks after that is our real first chance of going back racing, in my opinion. I think that these racetracks that continue to push out we're going to race at the end of the month. No, you're not. Well, we're going to race the first week of May. No, you're not. You're lying. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to everybody that you're talking to. Just tell them the truth, okay? Just tell them.
Right.
We're probably not going to race until the end of May or June. That's it. That's when we're going to race. So
yeah, I think hopefully as they get more data, right? Hopefully they'll all collaborate, kind of like the governments have or the states have to a point, right? Hopefully they can all kind of come up with some idea of when this will get together. The more data that we get, right?
Right, for sure. And the one caveat to that is, do they make a change where, let's say they put most of the country back to work, okay, but they still, don't allow sporting events. Well, some track, probably mine, is going to have a race without, fans.
Right.
It's going to happen. And I think, some others will attempt to do that. I'm not saying that we'll be the only. I've got an idea for a race I want to do Memorial Day weekend, whether we come out of this or not. If we have to do it without fans, that's okay. I've got some ideas, doing some pay-per-views, a fun race, not a serious, late model race. This is going to be something for fun that'll actually entertain people. But I think that some racetracks could end up having some sort of races before the timeline that I speak of, and that's only because there are ways around these executive orders and these things that they have in place, provided that your state doesn't specifically outline your business as not being able to operate. And even then, there are forms that you can fill out to challenge them, as Ace Speedway has done on their testing ban. They've filled out some sort of form in North Carolina to have a chance to test, and they're testing in the interim while they're waiting on that decision. I don't know which way that'll go for them. We allow people to go, like I said the other day, we allow people to go to Walmart 5,000 deep. I don't know what difference it makes if we have a race or not.
But do you think, that's one thing I can't wait till we can do a live show like we were talking earlier. I'm more interested to know, does the race fan are they ready? I can't go to, I'm telling you, it's hard for me to, I can't go to Lowe's. right? Like I can't, right now I don't feel comfortable going out like that. So
Right.
that's when I go to the shop and I come home, right? Like that's it. And I'm interested in what the race fan, yes, they want to see racing, but you know what I mean? At what rate do they come back out to the races? I guess is my question. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would be very hard for me. I, I, I just don't. I wouldn't feel comfortable going to those places. So I'm interested if the race fan will feel comfortable coming back to the track.
I think that's definitely a challenge, and I think that's still going to be. Honestly, I know that everybody thinks, and I've seen it on Facebook, and I've heard people say it out of their mouths that when this is all over with, that people are just going to flood back to racetracks. I don't know that that's necessarily true. I don't know that the majority of them are going to stay home either, but I do think that there are going to be some people that go, yeah, you know what, I don't really want to be in that. I don't want to put myself in that position. But I do think that racetracks fall into a totally different category too. I think that we are an open air space. We have let's just take Franklin County for example. I think there's 7,600 and some odd seats, 7,656 or some crazy number like that at Franklin County. Okay. If we put 1,000 people in there or 2,000 people in there, you don't have to sit right beside of each other. So there's plenty of room. Hickory's in the same scenario. There's a lot of tracks. Some tracks don't have very many stands. I mean, Carteret can't hardly hold anybody. Coastal Plains can't hardly hold anybody. Dillon doesn't hold a lot of people. There's a handful of tracks that doesn't. But
you and I also talked about trackside parking. How that plays into a racetrack. There's some places like Kingsport and so places that have big trackside parking. Where does that play?
In my mind, trackside parking could be a
the premium
thing, which I honestly, as you kind of watch how things have been changing within the racing landscape as it is, trackside parking has become more and more prevalent at more and more racetracks, and more people want to be in them. They're usually full at most. I mean, they're not full at Southern National because there's 148 of them, so it's hard to fill that. There's a lot of them. You know what I mean? That's a lot of spaces. You know what I mean? The average track has 40 or 50. You know what I mean, or less. But everybody, I think South Boston just put in some this winter or was in the process of it or whatever. They were trying to put in some trackside parking. I mean, I think everybody, and I've at Franklin County, I've got a plan and an idea of how to do that. And I think if a racetrack promoter or owner or whoever is not thinking about how to maximize on that right now, then they're already lost. They've already lost the game here. In my mind. I mean, and I think Southern National, a place like Southern National, sits in a prime spot to benefit from this the most. Like I said, 148 trackside parking spaces. If there's 4 people per car, that's a decent turnout right there. And if you can put people, 6 or 10 or 15 or 20 foot apart in the grandstands, you got a potential. You got 4,000 seats there too at Southern National. So you got potential to put a lot of people in the stands.
But answer me this: but how do you promote it now? Right, like. Do you promote it? I mean, I think the promotional game will change through this because I think now people are looking for different things. You know what I mean? I mean,
listen. Don't get me started on a rant about promoting, okay? Because I will go off the deep end here and say some things that I'll probably regret.
I'm a promoter guy, right? I just build the cars. I don't know
about
the promotion thing. I think that was, as I look at that, I try not to speak about much that I don't know, but as I look at that, I think to myself, if I was a promoter, I would be very, very afraid because the whole game has changed.
Right. It definitely has.
Performance Center, the whole game hasn't changed. You can still come in. You know what I mean? We don't have more than that many people in there really at one time ever anyway. It's not a big changer for me, but from a promotional standpoint, if I owned a racetrack or if I can imagine right now is just a trying time, especially if you only know one way. You know what I mean?
It's definitely a different world, and it's definitely going to change, especially if the social distancing things stay in place where, let's say, let's just go on a grand scale so people kind of understand it a little bit better. Let's say the NFL, I don't know how many people, AT&T Stadium in Dallas holds a crap load of people, but let's say they can only have 30% or whatever the number is of their total capacity there. Well, I mean, that changes everything for them. That changes the way they're going to have to sell tickets, probably changes the price of them. It probably changes every narrative there, for for these guys. I mean, and it does the same thing on the short track level. But like I said, and I talked to Mike Diaz the other day about Southern National and about the trackside parking there, and about he had not put a whole lot of thought into it. He's got another business that actually makes money, not the one that he's over throwing money away on doing racing, but he's got another business over there that does very well. So his mind's been on that. But I did kind of change. I think I changed his mind a little bit on how this thing's going to work when it comes back. I think that trackside parking is something that you don't have to sell 20% of, because they're not whoever's in the car, that's the only social distancing, and those people are together anyways. So
I was thinking about it the other day. If I had a racetrack, I'd put a movie screen up in that thing. I'd have it like a drive-in. I would be using it for so many different things beside races during the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think you're gonna have to be. I think you're gonna have to be mobile. As a kid, we used to go to a drive-in. It was a fun thing, right? Like, I think some of that with this and the other things that we're talking about, racetracks are just, in my opinion, just have to diversify hugely here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that I think the one thing that I think is the most detrimental to short track racing overall in the last 10 to 15 years is that the people who own these racetracks don't have to make money. I think that that's been very detrimental to short track racing and to these short tracks in general. But I do think now, it opens up a lot more doors. This deal opens up a lot more doors and makes people see the things that they can possibly do there. Because I think we talked about it the other day. I don't know whether it was on the show or in another conversation, but the movie theater business may be over with.
Over.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yep,
I mean, if they can only have 20% capacity, I mean, I don't know.
I know.
How
we
they
started
stay
talking about it because my friend has the restaurant, and he doesn't know how he'll survive because it's a nice sit-down restaurant.
Right.
And the tables are close. He says he'll lose 40% of his seating capacity. And he said, I can't make it on 40% of my seating capacity.
Well, I mean, if he does business as he did business before, he definitely can't make it on 40%.
Right, and that's basically what he was saying, startup costs. And I didn't realize that there was that much money in restarting, opening a restaurant. You're closed, and then you have to buy all new supplies. Everything goes bad and has to be cleaned. And you know what I mean? It's a big deal.
For sure. It's definitely a challenge there for sure. I mean, anything that's perishable probably has either been used up or given away, or thrown in the trash.
Racetracks too. What did they lose for goods? Everybody was geared up, ready to go.
Well, that's one area where I won at, because I wasn't doing my own concessions and I didn't have to worry about it. So,
right, for sure.
And the guy who was doing my concessions, he's got another restaurant, and he can get rid of all that stuff and at his leisure and not have to worry about throwing it away. That's one reason why. And I think Wake County is set up similar to that. I think they have Zaxby's that comes in and does their food now, and I think that's really really cool. Because that's another area where racetracks can really minimize their risk. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Speaking of Wake County, we're gonna call up Charlie Hansen here in just a few minutes. Talk to him, man. Charlie and his crew have been working their butts off down at Wake County. I don't know if you guys have been following along on Facebook, but they've put in a new flag stand, and they've done a lot of work around the track. Put in new LED lighting, wheel-in lighting for the caution lights. Pretty amazing stuff that they've been able to do down there while everything's sitting idle. This is their first year going NASCAR, so it's a big time for them, and this coronavirus has definitely not slowed them down from spending money. Obviously, it's probably slowed them down from making money, but they've been putting in a lot of effort and work, and we'll talk to Charlie here in just a few minutes. But I don't know, Roger. I mean, anything else come to your mind? And before we call up Charlie, anything come to the forefront of your mind that you have thought about in the last couple of days since the last show?
No, I can't wait to keep doing this. We'll get the video working here in a little bit. That way we can call a few people from the phone and maybe see a few faces and start to try to figure out a way to make it together through the 50 days that we said so after we race again.
Well, I mean, I really think that's a correct
Listen,
timeline.
I
I
don't.
mean,
I wish I could sit here and tell you that I completely disagree, but I don't. I mean, I, I don't know. That's going to be a difficult decision for many people involved, and I'm very thankful I don't have to make it. I mean,
right.
you got to make money, but you also got to have safety. So it's a tough road to hoe.
It definitely is a tough tough deal. We've I think I've told you, we haven't been testing at Franklin County. I would like to. I would like to get back to testing soon. When I think that it feels, a little safer to do so, or if I have we could do, with testing, easily a racetrack can, social distance very easy because, the
For
place is
sure.
huge and, by comparison to, one or two or three trailers or five trailers or whatever the number is, the place is, very, very large in comparison to that. Every racetrack is, even Wake County at a quarter mile, they could put 10 people in there, 10 teams in there and nobody be near each other. So I mean, it's definitely something that's doable. We haven't been doing it, just out of an abundance of caution. So other tracks have, and kudos to them. I mean, you got to keep some revenue going. That's one position that some racetracks. I think that's the difference in some racetracks and others. I think the racetracks that have been, really pushing to test, they got a lot of overhead. And I think the
Sure.
racetracks who have, went ahead and just set idle, don't have a lot of overhead. And, that's my case. It don't cost me a dime for that racetrack to sit there. It
Right.
might cost the owner money for it to sit there, but it doesn't cost me a dime. So, and so I mean, and not that I would rather be testing. I'd rather them be making money. I'd rather us be making money. I'd rather the racers being able to be at the racetrack. But I've been trying to be as cautious about this as possible. And I think a lot of
Well,
racetracks have taken that approach, and even the ones that are testing. I think I've seen different videos and pictures from Dominion. They've tested some, and I've seen some pictures from there. And there's not a lot of people around each other, so they've
right.
been taking this seriously. I mean, I don't think that just because they've been testing that they haven't been taking this seriously. So I think
Right.
that I think that this has been an interesting experience, man. I'll have to be honest with you. And I won't go into any detail at the moment, but this has been this whole deal over the last 4 or 5 days. I mean, as you know, I mean, me and you talked. I mean, we talked about doing this show 2 weeks ago. You were like, hey, let's get the radio show back going, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to. You know what I mean? This has been a
Yeah.
life changing experience for me. I'll talk about it a lot more later on down the road, but this has altered my perception of everything. And for the better, I think. So,
I
it's
think everybody, right? Like, I mean, and I guess maybe not everybody. There was people in
no,
Florida that were drunk on the beach and acting like hooligans, right? But I think for many of us,
right,
we look at things quite a bit differently. I have to tell you that I I have enjoyed in a bad time. I have enjoyed spending time that I never get to spend with my family. And
right,
it's a different perspective, and you know what I mean. We
for
just
sure,
go so much, and I if I can say that anything good has come out of this, Pat, is man, I get to do things with my son, and we get to I get to show him how to do things before I'm so caught up. So, you know, this has definitely exposed some of my shortcomings, and I think for everybody, right? Like even what
for
you were
sure.
talking about, that just things are changing for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's definitely a different world, and I think yes, it has changed everybody's perspective, in life. I think that everybody's kind of looked at things a little. I know there's a lot of stupid. God, I shouldn't call them stupid. I know there's a lot of people who really want to believe this is some hoax and some BS, and they talk ignorantly, openly on Facebook about it, and I get it. Deep down, I don't think they feel that way, but I think on the surface they do feel that way, and that's okay. I think everybody listen. In the beginning I was like, oh, this ain't nothing. You know what I mean? This ain't nothing. We move
Right,
on. I think
right,
we all feel. But I mean, at this point, if you're not smart enough to see the forest for the trees, then nobody can help you. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing anybody can do for you, and you're just gonna have to suffer through this being an idiot. That's all there is to it. So. All right, well let's jump on the line with Charlie Hansen and see what he's got to say. We'll try to dial him up on the phone and try to see if we can talk to him about all the things going on down at Wake County Speedway. All right, we've got Charlie Hansen on the line, I believe. Charlie, thanks for joining us here on the Race22 podcast.
I tell you what, I appreciate you having us on, and it's good to hear from you guys.
Yeah, man. We had to talk to the hardest working guy in short track racing right now, which is, really odd to say. I know you get up at, 10:30, 11 o'clock every day like I do. And, so it's really odd to say that you're the hardest working guy in racing.
But, we don't go to bed till, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So
that's the truth.
We just get the same 6 or 7 hours everybody else gets, just a little different time. That's all.
That's exactly right, for sure. And some people out there may not know why I say you're the hardest working guy in short track racing right now. But man, if you follow the Wake County Speedway Facebook page, I mean, you guys are knocking it out of the park down there. I have seen endless amounts of upgrades that you guys have made this winter. I mean, you guys are going full bore into this 2020 season whenever we do get it started.
I tell you, I wish I could take all the credit, but it's really a group effort. Mr. Brown really spearheading a lot of the effort over there. But I tell you, Wake County has a group of supporters that just pour their heart and soul into the track and do whatever they can. They go above and beyond to try to make the track better. Most of them have ties to the track, either their son or daughter races, or they own a car, or they drive. They just say that it's their playground and they want to make it the best that they can make it. So it's it's just a group effort. I wish I could take all the credit, but really without the entire team, we wouldn't be hardly doing anything either.
Well, tell us about everything that you guys have been doing. I mean, I've seen a lot of it on Facebook, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that we haven't seen. So tell us about all the things that you guys have started doing, before this coronavirus stuff started, but even into this whole lockdown that we're on.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that we did in the beginning of the season that really probably nobody really knows about, and I don't even know that that you even knew about it, but we started a team or a group of people that we call it kind of like a steering committee, or just kind of an ideas committee. And we had several some sponsors and some teams and people that have helped us throughout, and we kind of all sat down and just kind of put a list together and some goals for the track, and what they would like to see, what they'd like to see changed. We just bounced ideas off of everybody, and it was really a cool thing that we put together. But the steering committee we just kind of collaborated and come up with some great ideas, and we try to meet once a month. Of course, then with the coronavirus hit, it kind of threw that off course, but we did have one meeting and just talked about some of the upgrades that we wanted to do and our vision. Mr. Brown coined it, our vision for 2020, or our 2020 vision. But yeah, so that's how it all kind of started. And Langley, being in the racing business, that sometimes you can get burned out, and really with that steering committee and Mr. Brown kind of pushing me, it really kind of rejuvenated my batteries, so to speak, and just gave me a little more a little more energy and focus on making Wake County a better place, or really we sanctioned NASCAR, which was huge. For that track, 58 years have never been sanctioned. Just kind of just gave me a new breath of life into my passion for local racing.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like you have a rebirth of passion down there for sure. I mean, just all the things that are going on. I believe you told me that you guys put in LED lighting. Tell us about that.
We put in over 30 LED lights, kind of to supplement the lighting that we had. It's not nearly probably exactly what it needs, but it will definitely help tremendously. The lighting has always been a little slack there. I mean, the facility's 58, 59 years old, and probably some of the original lights are still hanging. So the LED lights, one of the drivers we posted, back in the beginning of the, in the winter, what would you like to see? And, one of our big late model supporters, said that they felt like lighting was one of the biggest issues. So, that was right there on our list with our steering committee. And so that was one of the things that we tackled right away.
That's awesome, man. We'll get Roger Johnson in here on the conversation here in just a moment. But what led to you guys deciding to go NASCAR sanctioned over this past winter?
Well, we just feel like with the market that Raleigh has, the NASCAR branding would help hopefully get a little more interest from some advertisers. And then, there's no other Friday night NASCAR track in North Carolina, and we thought that would, possibly help draw a few more cars. And it may not help but 2 or 3 per class, but we feel like that would be a good number for us. As being a quarter-mile track, we don't need 25 cars to put on a great show.
Right.
But we just feel like that the time was right. And then with our partnership with Southern National, we felt like that maybe we could do some cool things being Friday, Saturday night, and team up and work together, and give the drivers a really great outlet to buy for a national championship between the two tracks. I thought that of course before the coronavirus hit, that we would definitely produce enough opportunities for a team to run just Southern National and Wake County Speedway and really have a good chance at a national championship.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that definitely opens the door for some guys over there. Roger, you got anything for Charlie over here?
Yeah, I've been watching it on the Facebook page, and that's not. I mean, you guys are doing a bunch of different things there. You had a pretty big car show, it looked like, in February. Just a bunch of other things maybe beside racing.
Yeah, it's a shame that a lot of the racetracks sit idle, Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, and they only utilize the facility one day a week. And we're just looking for other adventures to just to try to generate some income for the track. And Justin with his car shows, he's had some huge car shows both at Wake County and Southern National. I believe he's even been to ACE. So he's really has a big following for the car shows. We also had a monster truck group out of Sarasota, Florida, that was planning a track rental for a 3-day show. Actually was going to do 5 days and 5 shows in 3 days. And then, of course, I just got word in an email that they were going to cancel all their shows until 2021. But we look for him to come in 2021. And, of course, we also have the Rusty Wallace driving experience there. Anything that can potentially, help draw some income and just help make the track better, and also bring some people to the track that maybe have never been there before. And, they come and say, hey, I've lived here, all my life. I never knew this track was here. So possibly gain a fan or two for, Friday night.
We earlier in the show, before we dialed you up here, we got to talking about timelines. What you're in it, right? Like, you're right in the middle of it. You're getting all the data as much as we're getting, or anybody else. What do you surmise for a timeline here?
Excuse me. Yeah, I sent Brett Tisdale a text there. Excuse me a second here. Gracious.
You ain't got the corona over there, do you?
Yeah, don't think I have the corona, no. I sent Brett a text yesterday and asked him what he thought, and he's one of the second or third person, in the chain of command for the NASCAR home tracks. And he said it's pretty tight-lipped, that nobody's really saying anything, about a timeline. I said, well, what do you think that, the month of May is pretty well, out of the question. And he says, it just, there's nothing really been said, but it was mentioned that NASCAR was looking to start back on, the last weekend in May there with the Coca-Cola 600 or the All-Star race. But, as of right now, we're really not getting any information other than the original May 3rd date from NASCAR. But I honestly don't foresee that, really being realistic at this time.
Yeah,
yeah, that's something we had talked about, right? I mean, that falls right with our path.
Yeah, I mean, me and Roger talked about it. I mean, I actually think that I kind of surprised him with the fact that I told him that Memorial Day weekend would be the first possible, and that's like the most optimistic point of view is Memorial Day weekend, and I really think that it could go into the first, couple of weeks of June, and I mean, it may go further than that. Who knows? But I think your thinking and what they've kind of told you and what you said about the Coca-Cola 600 being the first race, that kind of falls in line with the timeline that we discussed earlier.
And it's going to be interesting to see, what they decide to do, not only at the Cup level, but at the home track level. Are they going to extend the point season for the home tracks? Are they going to, maybe shorten the number of races that they're going to count towards the national championship? There's so many more questions than answers right now. And I think that they're really hesitant to try to throw out any information until they really know, when is going to be a realistic, start back date, because there's no need to throw out information and then have to change it. And it just, so I think they're doing the right thing by kind of just waiting and seeing exactly what's going to happen. So they only have to put the information out one time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the mistakes that some racetracks, honestly, in my opinion, have been making, is kind of putting out information out there. Oh, we're going to race, April 10th. We're going to race this date. We're going to race that date. I think they're getting people excited for nothing because they don't know anything. I mean, they don't have any information that leads them to that except for, their own, optimism, I guess. And I'm glad to see that most racetracks have taken the approach of not putting that out there. I mean, I think if somebody wants to shoot for Memorial Day weekend or wants to shoot for the weekend after or the weekend after that, I think that's way more realistic than the people trying to shoot for the next few weeks, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And people are asking me, well, what is your plan? And I really don't know. I honestly, it just depends. I mean, if we start back, the last week in May, maybe we'll run, possibly back-to-back Fridays, through September and still get the same number of events in. Or, we may, alternate. And then if the point system goes into, October, then we'll just, extend the season into October. Friday night football, in the past was always a question. Did racing on Friday night, was it affected by the attendance affected by Friday night football? I think maybe 25 years ago was a bigger issue, but we've raced into September and actually had some of the best nights we've had, just I think because the weather was more favorable than a 90-degree August night.
With things changing as much as they are so quickly, all of us as racers, kind of things go through our mind, just different ways to go about it. Do you have anything that's popped into you of a way, and you think you can do things different as this goes forward with the social distancing? Are you thinking about trying to, fun things to get people back to the track, or are you thinking about streaming everything online? Do you have any things that this has sparked your interest in trying to go crazy on?
Well, I'm kind of, I guess I would say, one of the old-fashioned guys. I don't foresee, much changing. Thank God that, and I don't mean it in a bad way, that the demographics of most of the people who attend races are kind of the good old boy blue collar people that, probably some of them probably don't even believe that this is a real big deal or a real thing. And I don't know that, there's so many unknowns. I just don't know. When we open the gate that first night, and we'll see what happens with the crowd. It'd be interesting to see how many people are still have the fear of getting back into a crowd. It's just there's so many unknowns. But as far as me, trying to be the innovator and come up with something different and new, I'll leave that to somebody else. And I'm not scared to steal something from somebody. If it works for them, I'll be glad to try it and see if it could work for us.
That's me. Every time somebody says, "Man, you had a great idea," I'm like, "Yeah, I stole that from somebody else and made it a little bit better." So, I mean, that's
well, they
that's
always
what we
said
do.
that everything that was worth being said has already been said. So, we just borrow it, and if we can learn something and make it better, then we definitely will. And I'm not scared to copy somebody and give somebody credit if they do something that's beneficial that would benefit me. So.
Right. Something that me and Roger talked about before we had you join us here. We were actually talking about trackside parking and the potential play that gives to places like Southern National and Kingsport and Caraway and other tracks that have a lot of trackside parking, because those people would still be social distancing. They'd be in their cars. The only people they'd be with is the people that they're with anyways. Have you given any thought to what may come down the pike if they limit the number of people that's able to come to a racetrack, or limit the way that you're able to bring them in there? I know that Wake County's an extremely small facility overall, so that would actually obviously be a challenge. But is there any possibility of you being able to add trackside parking spaces if you had to?
Yeah, I think logistically, they're really, we have like 2 trackside parking spaces that we reserve for the original owners of the racetrack, for the Simpkins family. But there's really, logistically speaking, there's no way that we could add any trackside parking anywhere. One of the upgrades that you have seen on Facebook is we are revisiting a lower pit area down back in the bottom of the property area for what we would make it at the new INEX pit, where Legends and Bandoleros would park, and then they would have a ramp that come up from the backside into what was the normal upper pit parking, which will still be pit parking. But we anticipate, when we've become NASCAR, and just from a few teams that have contacted us with showing interest in coming, that, like I said, we may pick up 2 or 3 cars per class. And with the enclosed haulers, we just needed to try to search around and find some more parking. So we were visiting that to expand our parking. But as far as for a trackside parking, there would just be no logistical way to do it. So for our track, it's just not an option.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely, I figured that was going to be your answer, because Wake County, that's probably the tiniest overall facility that I've ever walked into in my life. I mean, it's amazing what you can pack in there in a given Friday night. Anyway, so I just didn't think there was any way. But you speak about possibly picking up a few cars. I assume you refer mostly to late models. What are you seeing with your other divisions? Are you seeing an increased interest? And does any of that have to do with NASCAR, or is that just a thing where you guys have been doing such a good job there? I mean, I know last year was your first year really fully in charge, I guess. But I mean, you've basically been the guy, with Mike Stoddard there for a while.
It was actually our second year already. This is our third year already, believe it or not. So, but yeah, I think that we tried to, when we did set up our divisions for the NASCAR divisions, we kind of tried to copy the tracks in the surrounding areas. So, of course, Southern National, which we work very closely with, we tried to make sure that, we have our divisions the same. Like the mini stock division is division 4, and then it's the same at Bowman Gray. So
that's awesome.
Actually AJ Sanders has contacted us, and him and his son, and I think he said 1 or 2 other cars are interested in running the full season to try to maximize their chance for full points and to run for a national championship in their division. Of course, there are a few late models that have reached out and said that they're going to hopefully come and participate. And and then the modified fours, we brought them back 2 years ago as a full season class, and they were kind of running as a club. But now that we've kind of, like I said, I'm not scared to say, hey, yeah, we copied this from, we took the Orange County rules, which is the only other track within,
right,
several hours that run modified fours, and we copied their rules. And, we're going to try to give them a little more money instead of them kind of running for club money, make it where, they're a legitimate class, and hopefully, they're a division, they'll be Division 3. So, they have a pretty good point fund for Division 3. So I think that class should pick up, several cars. And then we are going to run the Chargers only. We're just going to run them the minimum 6 races, and we're going to try to run them on all off nights of late models. And then, of course, again, with the coronavirus now that with the schedule in question, I'm not sure exactly how we can make that work or how exactly that's going to work. But, we wanted to keep that, Southern Nationals Chargers were Division 2. And so we wanted to give them an opportunity to run for, a national championship in Division 2, or just a way to, gain more points or have another opportunity to race, at a NASCAR sanctioned track for their division.
What do you with becoming the NASCAR sanctioned track? What are you seeing from NASCAR as far as support? Were you did you get a big booklet? Did you know what I mean? What did you see as far as support that they reached out to you guys with, or you interacting with them even?
Well, I've been affiliated with Southern National pretty much for the last 8 years on and off, in 2012, very heavily. And so the NASCAR thing is not new to me. And I have a decent, relationship with Kevin Nevelainen, who's the series director for the home tracks. And then Brett Tisdale, who's the next guy. And I've had conversations throughout the years with them guys. So it's not new, the whole NASCAR, I don't know, the NASCAR Society or the NASCAR group or whatever is not new to me, and I've always had a lot of the access to the information. So I think that maybe that that if I probably never had much conversation with them in the past, or so much experience with NASCAR, I think that they probably would be more I don't know, more, I'm not going to say babying me, but they have supplied everything we need, getting started, of course, with Wheeling still a sponsor, they have sent us the new Wheeling lights that you see at all the NASCAR sanctioned tracks, which was nice. And they supply you with, the armbands, and they've already shipped them, and they're sent, and they're, of course, they're branded Wake County Speedway. And any support that you need, if you reach out, all the stationary stuff that they get, and of course all your waivers and all that was on the doorstep, immediately after we signed the sanction agreement. So, as far as the support from them, I couldn't ask for anything more. And all I know I'd have to do is pick up the phone and call Brett or Kevin, and whatever I thought we needed, or if I had a question, they would be more than happy to, extend to get whatever I needed, or answer whatever. I mean, their support is great as far as I've ever had any dealings with them. So
beyond what they're giving you, the things that you mentioned, what do you anticipate that being NASCAR sanctioned does specifically for Wake County Speedway? I know you talked about it earlier. It's an opportunity for the racers to race for a national championship, and obviously in every division. But what does it do specifically for Wake County Speedway that made you kind of go, we got to do this? It's time to do this.
Well, I think that, NASCAR brings credibility. Do I think that, it's the same as it was in the heyday of the 90s. No, but NASCAR definitely brings credibility. It also, um, it brings branding that I think in the Raleigh market, which is, we're literally 2.5 to 3 miles from downtown Raleigh. The NASCAR branding, as far as to sell advertising, it's definitely a plus for us, because we have 1 million people within 10 square miles of the racetrack, and they hear NASCAR, and yeah, they think Daytona, and they think, the Brickyard in Charlotte, and of course, maybe they might get a big surprise when they roll into Wake County, but I'll tell you, but Langley, and you've been there several times, you know that the entertainment value that Wake County provides, is really, I say like none other, but it's the bang for the buck, and
Absolutely.
I'm willing to put it out there. It's probably, if not the most entertaining, for the value for entertainment as far as racing, at any local racetrack that you can find. The quarter mile just gives you, um, just entertainment that is tough to emulate from at any other track.
It's definitely in my top 5 or 6 tracks that, if somebody said, put a list together of the tracks that you can go to and be thoroughly entertained. I mean, Wake County is going to be, among the top of those. I mean, in our region, we're lucky. We've got a lot of really great racetracks. But Wake County would be, because, I mean, I grew up at Franklin County, and I mean, you came there once. It's just good old redneck fun, and that's what Wake County is.
Right.
It's a good time. I mean, you can stick the NASCAR logo on the walls if you want to, but I mean, it's still just going to be a good redneck, old fashioned, good old Friday night, and that's what everybody loves about it, and obviously we hope that never changes.
Right, and a lot of our guys say, "Well, what is NASCAR?" I mean, I said, at the end of the day, it's still going to be Wake County Speedway. Are we going to have body templates at Wake County? No, we're not going to have body templates at Wake County Speedway. We are going to be bound by the NASCAR rules, but at the end of the day, we're still Wake County Speedway, and that's what's important. And Langley, at Wake County, like no other two, you can get there at, literally, if you're a driver, you can get there at 6:45. You make the drivers meeting, and you're gone by 10:30, 11 o'clock. And
Right.
To me, and on a Friday, so you really have your whole weekend left for your family, which in this time, it's just different. It's not, racing and is can be a family thing, or is, but a lot of the kids are playing travel ball, and it requires being gone on Saturday and Sunday, or like my daughter's in cheerleading and dance, and they have competitions on the weekends, so it puts a lot of daddies in a bad spot, to have to be at a racetrack from, and me and Mike Diaz, we sometimes we agree to disagree, that I say, you don't need to open the gate till 4 o'clock, but some of the people just want to be there all day from 8 in the morning until 12 at night. But at Wake County, you're there 3.5 hours. You get a full racing show in. There's no dragging your feet. There's no sitting around, and if you blink, you're gonna miss something for sure.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Well, we lost Roger on the call here, so we were about to wrap up anyways. But what looking at 2020? Obviously we've talked about the fact that you don't know when you're going to get started, but looking at 2020, what are you most excited about once we do get racing?
I'm definitely excited about the upgrades and the NASCAR sanction. Just the curiosity factor to see, will it make a difference? Will it bring more fans? And although you've been to Wake County, fans aren't really a problem at Wake County. We have a great local support.
Right.
But will it even bring a few more? And then if it'll bring 3 or 4 more cars per class, that's really all we're lacking to have we have good racing now, but if we added 3 to 5 cars per class, it would really be great racing with full fields that you really wouldn't really want many more cars than, 15 cars, 16 cars in a class on that quarter mile is definitely, a full field for entertainment for sure.
Yeah, 16 late models there is more than a full field. I mean, that quarter mile, I mean, that's, I tell people all the time, when you go to these racetracks, every racetrack, every different size racetrack takes something a little different to make it, appear to be, and I use this example all the time because of where I'm at. I live up here and, run Franklin County Speedway, sometimes. And, we have races there. And we have 10 or 12 late models. I mean, that's a great show and a full field. But you go to Motor Mile and, you need 20 or 30 to have a full field and a really great show just because of the different layouts of the racetracks. And Wake County is one of those places. I mean, if you guys had, in the past, if you guys had 6 or 8 cars, I mean, they could put on an incredible show. I mean, you didn't need 16 cars to do it. And I think, with you guys having an increased car count or expecting one this year, I think that's definitely going to be a treat for the fans, no doubt.
Right, and the upgrades, I'm excited about those. You've just seen, we just finished putting the finishing touches on the new flag stand, and of course, me being a flagman by trade, I've flagged at several racetracks throughout, the last 25 years, and it was really one of my dreams or one of my wishes, and Matt Hill with M&M Steelworks, he just took it upon himself to design it and make it happen, and just just gonna see the people that when they walk in, and they're gonna be like, wow, these guys are, really took advantage of this downtime and just didn't sit at home with their, head in the sand and, just crying about, poor pitiful me that the coronavirus is here. But of course, we are practicing social distancing, and we are open for private practice. We have several cars that have come, and, of course, we tell them that, we do need to practice the social distancing, and, I don't, go and hang around and talk with them and right. Hang out with anybody. We keep our distance. We're working to what we're doing, and they kind of do what they do. And, we're just definitely making the best of the situation, and it's, we'd rather be racing like tomorrow, which was supposed to be our opener, but in the downtime, we're taking the lemons that we've been given and making lemonade. So it's definitely going to be a treat for the fans when they come opening day, whenever that might be.
You guys definitely have taken full advantage of a bad situation. I told you, I joked with you through text message yesterday that you were making all the rest of us look bad, and you definitely those upgrades at Wake County were much needed, and definitely glad to see that you're able to do that, and the testing. I'm glad you guys have been able to continue to test. Some tracks have, some tracks haven't. Me and Roger talked about that earlier on the show, and. You gotta do what you gotta do to stay open and keep things going, and I'm glad to see you guys doing that. Of course, I'm sure there's a few people out there that may listen to this and don't know anything about Wake County Speedway. So tell us where they can find out more information about your racing.
Yeah, they can log on to www.wcspeedway.com. And, of course, they can find us on Facebook with Wake County Speedway. And, of course, all the other social media outlets, Instagram and Twitter, WC Speedway. We're located at 2109 Simpkins Road, Raleigh, North Carolina. It's just about 2.5 miles off of I-40. Down, close to downtown Raleigh. Just a super location and a lot of fun. Just really entertaining, family oriented. We have mascots and we do a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, definitely they should come check us out. I think they would be hooked, Langley. Like you said, the bang for the buck for the entertainment at that quarter mile bull ring is crazy.
No doubt about it. I've never had a bad time at Wake County Speedway, and we appreciate you joining us tonight to talk about it. And man, keep up the good work down there.
Well, don't be a stranger, and we'd love to have RACE22 come down and hang out with us anytime.
Absolutely, man. We'll be down there soon. Look forward to it.
Thanks, Langley.
Thank you. That was Charlie Hansen from Wake County Speedway. We appreciate him joining us tonight, and of course, I lost Roger on the phone there, so I am all by myself here to finish this podcast up. But man, we covered a lot of ground there. I think Charlie was very open about everything that they've got going on down there, and I think his idea of the timeline that we're facing here for this coronavirus kind of matches exactly what I was saying earlier, and I kind of think that's the timeline that we're looking at. I know that everybody's trying to be as optimistic as possible, but I think that's very optimistic. I mean, I think that's 5 or 6 weeks from now, and I think we'll be back on the racetrack. And I know you guys are going to be jonesing to be on the racetrack long before then. So check out some of these tracks that are continuing to test, and hopefully more will be able to open back up as things evolve here. And we're going to be, I know this podcast is going to get to you guys really late on this, I don't know if it's Wednesday or Thursday. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. This COVID-19 has really taken its toll on things, but it is Thursday. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get Roger on the phone. Hopefully his phone will work a little bit better tomorrow. But hopefully we'll be back with you tomorrow, and probably have another guest for you guys to hear from. And until then, that'll do it for us. Thanks for listening to the RACE22 podcast, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.